Hello and welcome back to another video on the JJ Think Tank. This one will be an important video, definitely, and I want to talk again about narcissism, its relationship to ego consciousness and boundaries, yes? So, when I said just now that narcissism is related to ego consciousness, I meant narcissistic traits, yes? So we all have narcissistic traits, I believe. We all have an ego. Some people have a bigger ego, other people have a smaller ego. But we need an ego, yes? An ego helps us to survive. Without an ego, we don't survive. So I don't believe in all this nonsense about, oh, you need to get rid of your ego, non-duality, oh, you're pure spirit, all this nonsense. For me, this is nonsense. This is a ploy. I believe this is a sly narcissistic ploy in order to control others, perhaps, to make them not act, to make them not develop their own ego consciousness. And ultimately, it's a subtle move to control others and to prevent them perhaps from taking action. Yes, I'm of the view that we need an ego. Obviously, we need to keep our ego in check. We can't have a massive ego and just tread on others and impact their lives, obviously. But we still need an ego to survive. I mean, without an ego, we don't survive. We don't try to improve. We don't try to get food, water, shelter. We don't try to improve our intellect. We don't try to improve anything, really, right? So don't believe in these nonsense worldviews, non-duality, all this crap. I mean, this is absolute nonsense, and you need to develop your ego consciousness. You need to start working on yourself. You need to start having a relationship with yourself, and yes, you will notice how much your mental health will improve once you start putting yourself first. For once you start developing your hobbies, your passions, your interests, and setting firm boundaries. Yes. And this is where narcissism comes in. So unfortunately, we're living in these times where narcissism is on the rise. There's a lot of narcs out there, covert narcs, covert psychopaths, maybe even overt narcissists, people with bipolar, people with all these schizo disorders, etc. And you need to be wary of these people, right? You need to set firm boundaries, yes. Because otherwise, they might cause havoc in your life. Yes, so I'd just like to talk a bit more about this. I won't. I'm just playing the next slide now. So this is about setting firm boundaries. Yes. So unfortunately, many of the narcs in your life, they could be family members. They could be family members. They could be your best friends, your supposed best friends, or people you know. They could be people at the workplace. There's a lot of these narcs out there. Yes, some of these narcs they're sly. They don't show their narcissism. Perhaps they don't show their true desires against you. Yes, they don't show what their true intention is towards you. And you need to be wary, yes? So, therefore you need to, limit contact or even go no contact if it's necessary. And just set firm boundaries. If you see that their behaviour is simply off, it's just it's out of order, you need to say what you think and put them in their place. Because if you don't, they're just going to keep treading over you. They're going to keep trying to subtly control you, manipulate you, and this is not good, yes? Set firm boundaries. Limit contact. No contact even, if it's necessary. And I've done this in my life. I started doing this in my life, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. Obviously, sometimes the narcs, they pull you back into your life, unfortunately. But unfortunately it's a necessary step. You have to do it in order to improve your mental health. I mean, the truth hurts, you know. Truth is bitter. The truth is bitter sometimes, and you just have to do what you think is right, really. And these narcs, then as I just mentioned, they can be your family members. They can be perhaps you know, friends. You thought they were your friends, but they're not actually your friends. They could be your partner, your spouse. Yes. So this is just my opinion. I'm speaking from the mind, from the heart, speaking from experience, and you really need to take this course of action for the sake of your mental health and sanity. And once you do this, you'll notice how much your life will improve. Obviously, an important part of this is living on your own, having a roof over your head and living on your own, having time for yourself, working on your trauma, on your past trauma, escaping the past, and living more in the present and being excited for the future. Yes, this is important. So that's all I have to say about this slide. And then the last slide, the third slide, is about narcissistic traits and narcissistic personality disorder. So this is a key distinction, because everybody has narcissistic traits. Without narcissistic traits, we wouldn't have the confidence to go out there in the world and try to achieve something, yes? So I mentioned this in another video when I talked about narcissism, when I talked about Sam Vaknin and Richard Grannon. So they are two YouTubers that I think everyone should listen to. They talk about narcissism and how narcs ruin our life. And how we need to be wary, yes? We need to set firm boundaries and not be manipulated, yes, by all these narcs in our life. So there are people who unfortunately have a narcissistic personality disorder. They're just set in their ways. You can't change them. There's no point trying. And this is why you set firm boundaries, you limit contact, or you go no contact. And I'm telling you, once you do this, once you take the hard decisions, you will notice how much your life will improve. You will notice this. And over time, it may take longer, it may take a shorter amount of time, but eventually you'll start to heal, and new events will start to appear in your life. You'll start to move forward in your life for once, yes, for a change. And yes, this is, I think, a key distinction that we need to make between, narcissistic traits and narcissistic personality disorder. Yes, so before I finish, I want to quickly cover the difference again between narcissistic traits and narcissistic personality disorder, yes? So here's Sam Vaknin talking about this issue, and I think he puts the words in my mouth. He's able to better explain what I'm trying to say, yes? Because he's the leading expert, I believe, on narcissism, on narcissistic personality disorder, etc. I mean, there's a lot of YouTubers out there. You can follow other YouTubers who talk about this, but he's my favorite, I think. Him and Richard Grannon, and here's what he has to say. Yes, about healthy narcissism. Yes.
Healthy narcissism is a phase, usually in early childhood, and then there's a second phase in adolescence, where one usually forms one's identity and then acquires a modicum of self-esteem and self-confidence, which, if realistic, constitute a sense of self-worth. So one becomes aware of one's limitations, one's realistic talents and skills, one's abilities and disabilities, one's failings and one's advantages. And this put together, this is the edifice of healthy narcissism. Obviously, in the absence of healthy narcissism, people, people develop other forms of pathologies, for example, dependence or codependence. So healthy narcissism is critical. It is when healthy narcissism spins out of control, when it acquires a malignant form, when it remains puerile or even infantile, when it is commingled with primitive defense mechanisms, when it impacts one's ability to assess reality properly, in other words, what we call a failed reality test, when it generates and fosters and engenders cognitive distortions and cognitive biases and cognitive failures, when it leads to the suppression of emotions and inaccessibility of emotions, when it gives rise to extremely negative and destructive and then self-destructive emotions such as pathological envy and hatred. When all these are put together, then we have pathological narcissism. Pathological narcissism is not an extreme or radical form of healthy narcissism. It is an absolutely different clinical entity. It is so different to healthy narcissism that one would do well to think of it as an entirely different psychodynamic phenomenon. And this is why we need books like Malignant Self-Love and others, which describe this phenomenon, because it's really, really, as I said, so outside common human experience.
Yeah, so that's all. I don't want to share more. So I hope you understand what I'm trying to get at. There is a healthy form of narcissism where we know ourselves, we know our realistic aims, we understand our talents, we understand our limits, we're not deluded, and therefore we don't have envy, we don't have hatred of others. Yes, we accept ourselves for who we are, and we just work on ourselves. We work on our talents and so forth. But there's a lot of people out there, I believe now, who overemphasize themselves. Yes, they think they're like the god, a god or something. They think they know everything. They think they're full of talent. They think they can achieve all these crazy aims. Yes, these unrealistic aims, and this leads to pathological narcissism. Yes, and you need to be wary of these people, and you need to set firm boundaries and keep them in check. Yes, keep them in place. So they don't cause your life to become worse. Yes. And also, yes, Sam Vaknin, he mentioned about codependency. Yes, so this is also a behavior that pathological narcissists show. They are codependent. Because they don't have a sense of self. They try to latch on to other people in order to buttress their false sense of self. And they subtly try to control and manipulate the person that they latch onto. This is what I've noticed, yes? So again, you have to be wary, yes? Ultimately, you want your relationships to be healthy. Codependent relationships are not healthy, yes? And if you are in such a relationship, eventually I think it will fail. It will collapse, yes? This relationship will collapse. So yes, that's all I want to say about this. I don't want to talk more. Ultimately, the shared narcissistic fantasy, it's a trap. Yes, you need to escape it. You need to escape the shared fantasy, and focus on your own life, focus on your own goals, and become more whole. Yes, this is the only way to heal. So yes, that's the end of my video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you learned some important information that will help you in your own personal life, in your own personal relationships. If you liked the video, consider liking and subscribing. It will help me grow the channel and spread more vital information that I think will help a lot of people out there. But yes, that's all from me today for this one, and I wish you all the best. Take care.